So we've got two cats, Molly and Millie. They're sisters. They're 4 years old. So we got them when they were kittens and they were great playmates. They still are great playmates for our two children. Thankfully, we've still got two cats because Molly went missing and it's pretty lucky that it wasn't a tragic outcome. Hi, welcome to Our Pets Health. I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex and I believe that pets are part of the family and I want to help you understand and optimize their health so that they can live the long and happy life that you want for them. And my cats absolutely are part of the family as well. And I hope with this story it will help you find your lost cat if ever they go missing, and maybe give you a few tips as well to stop it ever being a problem. So Molly and Millie, they're both outdoor cats. They come and go through their microchip cat flap. We put the microchip cat flap in because we had other cats coming into the house and stealing their food. The microchip cat flap has put a complete stop to that. But they do come and go as they please during the day. That's completely normal here in New Zealand. I'm aware in the US, for example, actually indoor cats are much more common and outdoor cats are much more of a rarity. But here I live pretty rurally. The risk to them is pretty low, but clearly it's not nothing. And one of the big risks with cats going outside is them becoming lost, trapped, going missing, or being hit on the road. And clearly that was my big concern when Molly didn't come back. So she's normally pretty consistent at coming back in the evenings. At this time of year, we're in the middle of winter here, she'll be lying in front of the fire, which is I think where she is now as I'm recording this. But she didn't come back. Now that's not completely unusual. She sometimes comes back a little bit later, but she wasn't back by the morning and she's always back for her breakfast. She is pretty food oriented and she's always there waiting and meowing when we get up and give them their breakfast. But by this stage it had been 24, 36 hours since we'd seen her and we really were starting to get worried. So the first thing I did when I got up was jump onto Facebook. We've got a really good active local community forum on there, so I popped in her details with a good picture, just said where we lived and asked people to check their sheds and garages because my big concern was that she had become trapped. While I was doing this, Amy, my wife, started walking around the neighbours, started knocking on doors and asking people to check their sheds and their garages. Thankfully, she then heard this meow, and Molly's got a pretty distinctive meow. I mean, you're the same, you're going to know your dog's bark and your cat's meow, but she was pretty certain that that was Molly. Now, the interesting thing is here is that when she knocked on the door and the neighbour went with her to open up the garage, Molly didn't come running out. There wasn't any sign of a cat. They almost actually walked away and thinking that it must have been another garage. But then they had another little look around and they actually saw Molly hiding underneath some shelves. And it took some real persuasion to get her to come out so that Amy could then get her home safely. And the big lesson here really is if you lose your dog or your cat, even if they can see you, they're going to be scared, they're going to be hiding from all the unusual activity that may be going on, and they may not come to you when you call them. It highlights how important it is to look really thoroughly so that you can potentially spot them, but also maybe go back at different times of day. Because if, for example, your pet is hiding in a bush or hiding under a car, it may be that only in the evening when everything's quietened down, they actually feel safe to come to you. So we were pretty stoked that Molly was back. We gave her lots of fuss and attention. We gave her a few extra treats and a good feed, and she's now absolutely fine. It's like nothing has ever happened. If we hadn't found her, there's a few other things that I would do. So both my cats are microchipped. They're both registered on the national database. So I was pretty confident that if she'd been taken to the vet clinic because, for example, she'd been knocked over on the road, then they would have been in touch with me straight away. But even with that, I would have been calling all of the vet clinics, any rescue centres, the SPCA, any charities to see if a cat of her description had been handed over, because very occasionally microchips fail. It's not very common, but it can happen. And also people might not have scanned them properly. There might have been an error in communication and the information not passed on. I'd have also put more posts on different social media platforms. I'd have bumped the old posts up to the top so that people were seeing them. And I would have walked the neighbourhood completely. So one, checking the road just to make sure that she hadn't been tragically hit, but also to put up some posters as well, giving my contact details, potentially a reward as well. Now that's going to depend on where you are. I don't think here a reward would motivate people any more than they would be motivated anyway, but it would bring it front of mind, and people, if they saw a cat matching her description, they'd know exactly how to get in touch with me. And then the other thing that would be great is if they were wearing collars. Now I've tried those throwaway collars before, and to be honest, they didn't really stay on for more than about 12 hours, if that. So what I've done is actually order some collars from Superkit. So these have been voted the best cat collars in various publications, and I've actually had Laylee and Kevin on the channel talking all about how to fit the collar, how to introduce that to your cat, and the details that you should be putting on the ID tag. So I've ordered a couple of those collars, and I'll let you know how I get on with them once they arrive. In the meantime, check out this video linked on screen where Laylee and Kevin talk about the ideal cat collar, how to introduce it to your cat, and the details to put on their ID tag. But until next time, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family.